So last time me and Hayes met was 7 years ago, but we actually had a reunion now happening in June, and we're going to tell all about it in this episode.
Hey there, music makers. I'm Hayes Griffin.
I'm Magnus Stämman.
And welcome to the Mandolin Secrets Podcast, a show where we take a deeper look at what's happening in the world of mandolin secrets. Each episode, we're going to tackle some questions of the week, unpack the latest mandolin secrets lessons, and answer your questions about mandolin guitar and all things music. But this week, we've actually got a bit of a special episode, like Magnus said in our hook there. We're going to be talking about my trip to Sweden. Magnus and I haven't seen each other in person for 7 years, people, and that was 7 years way too long. So we're going to talk about some of the kind of vibes that we caught from being over in Sweden for Midsummer, and some of the festivals we got to go to, and all the friends that we got to meet. But before we dive into the discussion about all that, be sure to head to mandolinsecrets.com/podcast to sign up for reminders about our upcoming streams and episodes. If you can't tune in live, never fear, just search Mandolin Secrets Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to get updates when we release a new episode.
I think it would also be interesting, because I think people are now also questioning, okay, but how did you then meet each other 7 years ago? And just to quickly start in that end, you, Hayes, were here touring with April Verge Band, right?
You got it, man.
And this wasn't even the first time in Sweden. How many times have you been to Sweden?
I keep losing track, but I'm pretty sure that this last time was the 6th time that I've visited Sweden in total.
Yeah. You're pretty common to this country then. Or...
Yeah, it's I have definitely fallen in love with Sweden over the years, and there's a reason that we kept coming back all those times,
Yeah. Yes, and so me and Hayes played at the same festival there, and we very quickly were fond of each other's. Was jamming, and long evening into the late night, I remember.
Exactly.
But that's way many years ago, and who could knew that we would, because for the last 2 years we'll at least meet once a week, even if it's only like an Zoom call or a digital meeting, or what to call it.
Yeah, it's really funny to kind of think that we met in person once, but we've really gotten to know each other over Skype.
So I remember when I picked you up at the train station now in June, I said it's kind of like, or I imagine it's kind of like for people doing like internet dating. they got to know each other so intense over the like calls like this, and chatting and writing emails, and then finally you're gonna meet in person. What is it gonna be like?
Exactly.
You never know.
Absolutely. It's like you look nothing like you did on the pictures.
Your playing sucks, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure your recording must be edited. This is not what you sound like on the recordings.
Well, just to get that out of the way, I can totally dispel that myth. Magnus sounds just as great in person as he does on the internet, everyone. So it was a total blast to actually finally meet that way.
Yeah, it was a total blast. And I remember that first evening you came to us, and also you brought the sun to Sweden. Yes, that was worth it. Only the sun. But yeah, we were sitting in the garden just picking tunes, and we were preparing the Midsummer repertoire.
Exactly, which is, I was pretty excited about that before the trip anyways, because I had never been to Sweden in Midsummer. I think most folks know, if they know anything about Swedish culture coming from like the States or anything, Midsummer is something that pops up because everybody associates, Scandinavia with darkness in the winter, but this is the one time a year, right, when it's the longest day and everybody celebrates, and it was it lived up to the expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have to say it was one of my best midsummer parties, and it's the well, we had it was a very good setup with lots of friends, lots of music, and the sunny weather, a lot of good food, and
it was in one of those, for Americans too. If you've seen pictures of Sweden, it was in one of those big old Swedish farmhouses that was painted Falu red, and it was right next to a lake, and there were kids running around swimming, and everyone was laughing and drinking and having a good time and dancing around the maypole, or the midsummer pole, I guess you call it there. Yeah,
midsummer pole, and also I remember we prepared because it was actually you and me leading the dance there. And I remember you and me being in the middle, just by the midsummer pole. People are dancing here and making all this, like grown-up people, kids, and old people, every age basically. And I was just looking, and I suddenly got like an outside perspective of it, and think, this is pretty weird what we're doing, but I also I couldn't more than laugh about it, sort of.
Small Groot and a small Groot and
yes,
that's great, man.
Yeah, there's also a good example of how Hayes actually got I think it's his music ear, but he's really good at languages also.
Yeah,
turned out. Yeah.
Well, thanks for saying that, man. I've been, like I said, practicing my Duolingo for the next trip over there. So,
yeah. And I want to also bring us back to one memory, because we had being here at the Swedish Midsummer, all that, and then I also I was really excited, of course, to show something like this to my American friends, because it's such it's a special thing happening here. But then I also found out that there's a bluegrass festival not too far from where I live, and I've been there a couple of times, but I mean, it's not really my home ground being at a bluegrass festival. But I knew Hayes was going to love it. I even said, you're going to be like the fish in the water there. And I think the way I saw it, that was exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, because using your fish and water analogy, going to a Swedish bluegrass festival, I didn't know if I was going to be like a freshwater fish in salt water, if you know what I mean. But man, the level of players at Torsåker was amazing. I think any American would have come over there, and I mean, what did I say after that first night of jamming? It's like, I think I want to move here.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. We had a great jam that night. And I think also we were talking about the level of these players, because this is people that are dedicated to playing bluegrass music. Like with they're all into bluegrass music.
Absolutely, and we got to talk about the. Tell me if I say his name wrong, but Jimmy Sunnebrandt, right?
Yeah. Jimmy Sunnebrandt, I think. Yeah.
Sunnebrandt. So Jimmy, for the Americans listen out there, he actually played some fiddle and bass with the legendary bluegrass musician James King in the United States. So the guy running this festival, it's not like some kind of like foreign third-party perspective in bluegrass. Like, this guy lived in Virginia, and his family made trips over when he was a kid and all sort of stuff. So they like know bluegrass music, you know? It was crazy.
Yeah, and that brings me back to when we were there jamming, and there was this man coming up to us. Hey, can I listen for a while? And he was started talking with us, and it turned to be the guy who founded Torsåker Bluegrass Festival. And that was Jimmy's father, Leif. So the festival has been around for quite a while. The bluegrass music has been very present in this small village, and obviously a guy like Jimmy has grown up with this from when We also met his younger brother, who's now like 15, 16 years old, playing. Very beautiful.
Already turned into a great fiddle player, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really, really good time there. I also got a like inspirational boost for bluegrass music, really.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
No, sorry.
I was gonna say the one of the main inspirational points to kind of piggyback off of that statement was meeting Ondra Kozak. Mm-hmm. There was an amazing Czech guitar, mandolin, and fiddle player. Ondra could probably play anything. But Magnus and I, the first night that we were there, we got into a jam session with all the musicians that were playing there that night. Yeah. And Ondra was one of them. And ended up bringing him back to your studio there and recording some videos that we're going to release. And we really hit it off and became friends. But just another kind of extremely inspirational figure that I honestly didn't expect to find over there. You know what I mean?
No, me neither. And I have followed Ondra for a couple of years because I've seen him. He's a quite big like bluegrass name in the European circuits, at least.
Yes, absolutely.
And he was heading for another bluegrass festival in Oslo the week after it. But we somehow realized that he had some time off for sightseeing and things like that. And I said, drop by the studio, and it was fantastic. Really nice guy and an amazing player. So happy to share some videos with that here very soon.
Yeah,
there might even be someone out when we're releasing the podcast. I'm not sure, but thanks so much, Ondra, for dropping by and making music with us.
Yeah, it's good to have a new friend.
Also, one thing I want to point out when we're talking, so it was really nice meeting you, Hayes, and it was also really nice meeting your mandolin. You brought your red diamond here, and I just I think a quick way to summarize that made me realize I want to upgrade my mandolin as well, because it was so good, and it's that instrument is another level than the instruments I have here. So it was really fun. And I think also interesting with that mandolin is it was when I tried it myself, having the mandolin in my lap, sort of. It felt good, it played well and everything. But I could feel the big difference when I played in an ensemble environment among with you or at the festival, being around this. That was then I realized how there was like space in the air for this tone somehow. I can't.
I think I know what you mean, because I remember the first time I sat down to play in a jam session after I got the mandolin, there was a banjo there, and that's always to me that's the test. Yeah. You know, if an instrument's gonna keep up, you know, a banjo is a good kind of litmus test for it. And it was that thing that you just talked about. Like, I could play one note that competed with the entire sound of the banjo on that instrument. You know, it's like everything just cuts straight through. And it was really great to hear you play the instrument. People always say this, right? Like, I'm standing behind it the whole time, so I never get to hear it from out front. But I think hearing you play it in those videos that we did with Ondra and at the jam sessions we did, it confirmed my kind of thoughts about the tone of it too.
Yeah. Yes, very, 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 very impressive instrument, and very nice experience for me that haven't played that many like top level mandolins and instruments in this caliber, sort of. So really pleasant thing. So I'm actually in contact with Don McRusty, who builds the Red Diamond mandolins, and who knows what the future will bring.
Yeah, my trip could have been a really expensive trip for Magnus.
Yeah. We'll see what the future has in the. Oh, what's the American expression for that?
Yeah, like, what the future holds.
The future holds. That's it.
Yeah.
I want to end this little short bonus episode also with what actually ended your stay here.
Yes.
I mean, there's a bunch of things we haven't talked about, but we can't leave this without talking about Bingjsö Stämman.
Absolutely.
Well, first off, Bingjsö Stämman is one of the biggest fiddle camps sort of here in... I don't know if a fiddle camp... It's a spelmansstämma, fiddler's camp, maybe. I don't know how to translate it, but... And it's located very close to where I live. And me and Hayes had an entire day there. We also made a little performance at one of the stages, playing with some other, like, guitar and... lute players and all that. But what is your experience of the Bingjsö Stämman?
Yeah, Bingjsö Stämman was, I think if there are Americans listening, the closest thing that I could compare it to would be like what we call a fiddler's convention over here, or a fiddler's meeting, because like Galax Fiddlers Convention in Virginia is one of the biggest ones, and I think it's similar. There's just picture hundreds of fiddle players standing together and breaking out into little jam sessions, playing all of the traditional music from that region, right? Like that's kind of the vibe of it. Only the cool thing about Bingjsö Stämman, which I get the sense that most of the Spelmansstämman are like this, you've got your special outfits that you wear over there, right?
Yes,
your wool suits, you know?
Yes, yeah. For the folklore costumes, sort of.
Yeah.
Or dresses, maybe what we'll call it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They kind of look like almost like Civil War era, like, you know, costumes or something like that. It's really cool to see. Mm-hmm. But the experience was great. Like Magnus and I, after we got done playing our set, we walked around the kind of campsite, and there were just small jam sessions everywhere. But one of the biggest things that I thought that left a huge impression on me was when we went to that small barn where they were dancing the polska. So for anyone that's heard polska out there, it's kind of like the stereotypical type of like Swedish fiddle tune, right? Like they're in three meter. But seeing the dance that people did to accompany the tunes absolutely made the tunes make sense. You know, it like brought the whole picture into focus for like what Swedish traditional folk music is for me. So that was a really great experience. Yeah,
also that is like one of the strongest memories from this summer when we went into this barn and it was crowded with people and the dance floor was packed really. And there were maybe 10 fiddle players on the stage, just, knocking it out, sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember then we went home, came home to my house in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock or something like that. And we woke up early next morning at 7. I drove you to the train station. And I think it kind of summarized the whole, those 2 weeks in a good way, filled with music, a little bit like, almost like you're a little bit high on the music, sort of. And,
absolutely.
It was sweaty, it was warm, and I was exhausted after 2 weeks, but it was so much fun. And I'm just longing for the next time we can do it again.
I think so, yeah. It's like I said, my wife and I are already planning on same time next year, so, you know, block it out, right?
That is music to my ears.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, that is about Magnus and Hayes' reunion. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more about the podcast, just go to the website mandolinsecrets.com/podcast. Hayes, why don't you say the magic words to the community and we'll wrap this up.
All right, folks, you know the drill. Be a music maker.